on here. There we go. The meeting is being recorded and it will be posted to our website, which is wcroads.org in the next day or two. I'm going to show you at the end of the presentation where it will be posted. And it also will be posted to the Road Commission's YouTube channel in the next day or two. After we do our presentation, then we will ask you if you have any questions, and you'll be able to participate either if you want to raise your hand and you can ask your question verbally. I'll provide instructions as to how to do that. Or you can always ask your questions in chat. We do have chat enabled here. If you want to ask me as the meeting host a question, I'll be sure to read that question out to our project managers when we get to the Q&A period. So with that, all of that being said, I will turn it over to James for the project information.
Hi, thank you, Emily. My name is James Hoy. I will be the project manager overseeing this resurfacing project on Ford Road. As you can see on the screen here, this red line shows the limits of our project. We're actually starting a couple hundred feet east of the Plymouth Road intersection, so we won't be going up to the intersection itself. As you can see here again, this is the limits of the Ford Road project. Next page. So here's the current state of Ford. It's pretty beat up. I think it's long overdue for a resurfacing, which is why we're out here this year. And we've secured this money from the Michigan Department of Transportation to perform this work. So we will be following, Michigan guidelines and regulations on this type of work. Next page. So here's a picture of the bridge over Fowler Creek. We will be closing this bridge down for the duration of the project. While we're performing this work, we have some preventative maintenance work that we have to perform on the bridge before we pave back over it. Next page. So the plan is to mill and resurface Ford Road between Plymouth Road and M153. With this resurfacing, we will have the road closed, so we will have minor ditching work to improve drainage. We'll be milling the top layer of the existing pavement, and then we'll pave back about 3.5 inches of asphalt. And this road itself, our design will be proposing a 3-foot paved shoulder on each side with 3 foot of gravel. Next page. And then there are other improvements that we're trying to include in this closure. We're going to trim the tree canopy that's in the area. We won't be cutting any trees down, but we will be limbing some branches as time allows. We will be, as mentioned before, doing some bridge deck preservation as we mill down to the bridge. We'll be installing new guardrail on that bridge, and then we'll put back a fresh new coat of pavement markings on the road as well once we pave it. Next page. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen what milling looks like, but once we're out here, we will have operations set up so that we will maintain one lane during the milling. So people that live in the area will have access to their property for their work. This is your typical milling machine, and they'll be handling one lane at a time. So if you are driving in the area, please watch out for the cones, watch out for the signs, watch out for the workers that are out there as well, so everybody can be safe. Next page. Let's talk about our timeline and detour routes. So our contractor is expecting to start this project at the beginning of June. This is tentative because they are currently working on a different project for us right now, and it really depends on when that job ends. So our best estimate would be the 1st of June is when they start. We'll definitely keep the website updated, and we'll continue. We'll send out updates to everybody on our emailing list as the time gets closer. This road closure is expected to last approximately 2 weeks. This definitely depends on the weather, but we are going to try to hold the contract to 2 weeks at most. Some of this work may be completed under lane restrictions after the road is reopened. So once the road is paved and back open, we do have like pavement marking work, shoulder work, ditching work that could happen after the opening of the road. So just be cautious as you're driving by. Next page. Impact the traffic. Ford Road will be closed to through traffic. What this means is that anybody that's using Ford Road just to get through to Plymouth or get to M153 are recommended to not take this portion of Ford Road. They will be advised to take the detour route. As I mentioned before, anybody that lives or works in this stretch of the road will be able to get in and out. Our contractors has been instructed to make sure to maintain access for all the driveways, all the approaches to each of these locations on the project. But for your information, the Ford Road Bridge will be completely closed to all traffic. And by completely closed, we mean that we can't have any cars driving on it as they're doing the rehabilitation work on this bridge. So please be aware, if you do need access east of this bridge, please come in from M153. And if you have driveways or access on the west side of this bridge, please come in from Plymouth Road. And again, this bridge will be closed for that 2-week duration. So please plan ahead for your drive. Next page. So here's our posted detour. It's a fairly short detour, so hopefully it will be a minor inconvenience for most people driving through here. This will be from M153 to Plymouth, and then from there, again, just to mention, the bridge is closed where it's pointed out on the map there. I know we've talked with the neighborhood that lives on Andorra Drive. We do recommend that you come in from Cherry Hill if possible during this project. A lot of the other neighborhoods don't have the access from a different road. So, please do come in from either M153 or from Plymouth Road, depending on where you are from this bridge. Next page. Again, just to reiterate, once the road says it's closed, it's closed. Please don't try to drive through. Please don't try to move our barricades. We've had a lot of instances where people try to take these into their own hand, and they do, get damage to their cars or, have a hard time turning around. And it does lead to a lot more harm to our workers on site. So, please adhere to these road closed signs and barricades. Next page. So there will be a lot of other projects in this area. If you visit our website, you can see a map that looks just like this, and you can click on each individual highlighted segment just to see when and where and what they're redoing out on these areas. For the red line that's going up Plymouth Road just north of the M153, that project will not start until after Ford, we believe. Really depends on the contractor's schedule, but we are mindful of the inconvenience in this area, so we are trying to have them constructed at different times. So yeah, when you get the chance, please take a look at our website and just see how these other projects could impact you and your drive during construction time. Next page. For our minor details, mail delivery, trash pickup, they will occur as usual. If there are any special needs, please let me know and we can try to figure something out. Yard restoration, any impact that we would have on your property, we will restore. And then bicyclists or pedestrians, we do advise that you don't take this path during the duration of the project, just for your safety and for our workers as well. Next page. For more information, please visit our website, WCRoads.org. You can click the subscribe for project updates. Again, here's my information, and my information will be on the website as well. Feel free to call or email anytime if you have questions or concerns. Next page.
Thanks, James. I think before we go into the Q&A period, we're gonna, I'll show everybody on the website where they can find the project information you were just talking about. Before I do that though, Aaron, is there anything that you wanted to add to James's presentation?
Just a few additional notes here. And James, thank you for the very informative presentation. Very much appreciated. Also appreciate everyone taking the time today to attend the meeting and find out some more information on this project. James had mentioned that the source of funding for this project, it does involve federal funds. And as such, the project is bid through the Michigan Department of Transportation, and the contract for the work exists between MDOT and Cadillac Asphalt. They're the prime contractor on this project. The Road Commission administers that contract on behalf of MDOT to ensure that the work is done to current specifications, that it's done in accordance with the bid plan set, and that everything is appropriately documented to show that that funding source was spent as was indicated in the grant. So again, we're out there to administer the project. Ultimately, it is an investment in a road that's under the jurisdiction of the Washtenaw County Road Commission. But as such, as with any source of federal funding, there are certain stipulations. There is red tape involved. And James mentioned that the shoulders out here, the new shoulders, will be 6 feet wide on either side of the road. So each side of the newly completed road will have a three-foot paved shoulder and then an adjacent 3-foot aggregate or gravel shoulder. And again, that's part of the current design guidelines that we have to satisfy for this type of project when we're using those federal funds and performing the work under an MDOT contract. So we really do not have some alternate to pursue in that regard. Again, when we make the investment with federal funds, we need to follow current design guidelines, and that requires a 6-foot shoulder on either side of the road for a road of this nature. I want to reiterate, for the safety of everyone, for the contractor and their employees, for myself and James and our staff who are working on the project, and for motorists, everyone needs to be mindful of this road being closed through traffic. And if you do have need to travel within that closure, please be very aware of the equipment on site, the workers on site. There may be some traffic regulators out there, but again, the road work that we're doing is being done under a closure. We have a couple of reasons to do that. Number one is to protect the safety of the workers that are doing this type of work out here. The other consideration is to expedite the work, to do it in a more efficient manner. And as you might imagine, when we have a road closure, the work can be done in such a way that logistically it goes more quickly. So we appreciate everyone's patience with the time that the road is going to be closed. The as-bid MDOT documents stipulate that Cadillac Asphalt, the contractor, is held to a 2-week closure for this road. Now, there are situations where the contractor could be granted an extension of time on that, and it would be things like weather conditions. If they were to start the work and the weather turns and we can't do things like asphalt paving, you can't asphalt pave in the rain. And so we would consider an extension of that time period if weather impacts the contractor's operations. But again, this is expected to be a relatively short duration closure, and thankfully the nearby detour is quite short as well. So we do appreciate everyone's patience with the project. Certainly a great investment here in Ford Road. And as James mentioned, it's much needed. There is a fair amount of deterioration in Ford Road, so it's good to partner with MDOT and partner with Cadillac Asphalt to make this investment. We will be coordinating with mail delivery and with trash pickup. We will reach out to them in an effort to try to inform them James had mentioned that the schedule, the contractor has been allowed the months of June, July, and August. They can pick when they want to perform this work. Part of the reason that we allow that is we provide flexibility, and generally that will provide better unit pricing as we allow the contractor to set that schedule. Again, they're limited to 2 weeks in the contract documents for this full closure. And we will continue to communicate with the contractor. We've worked with Cadillac Asphalt many times in the past. They're currently working on another road investment in the county right now. And once we know a more date certain, we will continue to keep our website updated. Those that subscribe to the website will receive emails as we provide those updates on the schedule. And prior to the road being closed, we will be installing portable changeable message signs on the road. Those are those large electronic message boards that you see, and we'll be having those out in advance of the closure being set up. So again, there's multiple ways that we try to communicate to the public, to motorists, to let them know what's coming. We will have an inspector on site. So a road commission inspector will be present on the job site. That inspector is there to ensure that the work is done according to plan, according to specification. He's there to document what work is done so that we can process payment to the contractor. Because what we pay the contractor is based on actual work performed in the field and that work being measured as they're performing the work. Certainly, if some need would arise and a resident sees our inspector on the job site, generally they're easy to identify. They're in a road commission signed pickup truck. You're welcome to speak with that inspector, but the easier way to resolve an issue would be to reach out to James. James is in daily contact with that inspector, and certainly he avails himself for calls, questions, or concerns that may arise regarding the project. And then, let's see, anything else? I think that's it, Emily. Those were the notes I had jotted down.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. All right, so as promised, before we get into the Q&A, we've already got some great questions coming in through chat. So before we do that, I'm just going to show quickly here how you can find all this information that we're talking about on our website. So let me get back here to screen share. So the Road Commission's website is WCRoads.org. We've mentioned that a few times. And so if you go here, we've got a lot of information on here. I'm biased because I help to maintain it, but we really try to put a lot of information out there for the public to better understand what a road commission is, what we do, what roads we're responsible for, what construction's going on. And so one of the things that we put a lot of time into, especially during the construction season, is our current projects map and schedule. So if you go here under roadwork and construction, you'll see we've got a current projects map. We also put out a weekly roadwork schedule. I'm actually working on it. I was working on it before this meeting, where we'll publish every Thursday for upcoming work for the next Monday through Sunday. So you can see where we've got work. When we do our, when we start work on Ford Road, that'll go on the weekly roadwork schedule. So I'm going to show you this current projects map. So if you go here, I'll give our internet a second here to load. So you can see that we've got a bunch of different links up here. We've got a PDF of that map if you prefer a PDF or something that you can print. But down here is an interactive map of all the different projects that we have going on. And so any of these road segments, these blue segments, or these red dots signify a big project that we've got this year. And so you can click on that just like Ford Road, and you can go to more information. And then this is the project page. There's a link in the chat. I'll provide it as we get into the Q&A too, so you can have a direct link right to this page. But you can see we've got some of the basics here, what we're doing, what the funding source is, project limits. We've got James's contact information here. We've got a link to the Detour map. We've got the announcement for today's meeting. This is where we'll post when we are getting closer to that road closure, and then we'll do some updates throughout the closure as well. If you'd like to receive an email saying, letting you know about the closure and to get updates throughout the project, you can go to the subscribe to project updates here at the bottom right, and I'll just show you where that'll take you. So that'll take you right to our subscription page, and that you can put your email address in there, name, information. And then besides just project updates and our weekly roadwork schedule, we also offer road advisories for any work that we've got going on in by township. And so if you want to receive other alerts from other road work that we have going on in Superior or Ann Arbor Township, you just select which townships you'd like updates on, and then what types of emails you'd like to receive. And like I said, we do that weekly roadwork schedule, and I'll send one out this afternoon or work right after this meeting. I'm working on it right before this. And then down here is where you can select which projects you want to receive updates on. James showed you in the presentation that we have a lot of projects going on. So some our biggest ones of the year, like this Ford Road project, you can subscribe to receive updates right through here. And it looks like I am missing Ford Road from that list. So I will add it immediately after this meeting. But you can subscribe if you go right here. You can subscribe to receive Ford Road updates throughout the project. You can also get them if you subscribe to receive Superior Township updates. So with that, I will turn it back. Let me get back to the presentation. And like I said, we've got some great questions coming in. So to ask a question, we'll go into the Q&A period, and we've already got, like I said, a few in chat. If you would like to ask your question verbally, and I know that somebody already does, so I'll unmute them shortly. But if you'd like to raise your hand, you can look for the reactions button on the bottom of your screen. It could also be under the participants button. It depends on which version of Zoom. They recently have moved it, but you're looking for the raise hand feature. And so if you want to ask your question verbally, we just ask that you raise your hand, and then we will unmute people one at a time to ask their question. If you've called into today's meeting from your touch tone phone, you can ask a question by dialing *9. And so that will virtually raise your hand, and then I'll unmute you if you're joining us from your phone. You can also ask your question in chat, and I will read that out loud to Aaron and to James, and we'll go through those chat questions as well. So I know that Joseph had his hand up here. So Joseph, if you want to, you should be able to unmute yourself. You can ask the first question.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
We can. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. Thank you, Emily. Hi, James. Joseph Photos, thank you. We had exchanged some emails a few weeks ago. Thank you so much for being prompt and replying. My father, I'm an attorney. Don't throw things at me virtually, okay? My dad is 85 years old. He owns the corner property on Plymouth and Florida. On that corner, you know, he's 85 years old. At first he thought, James, as we discussed in the emails, at first he thought there was like, you know, his vision is failing him. He thought that this was like a taking. He was like eminent domain. I said, no, I think they're just resurfacing the road. James was awesome. He confirmed that for me via email, like promptly the same day. Thank you so much, James. And I think there was an issue like over the last, when we've owned that corner for like 20 years, and people would drive on it. And to avoid, and James, I apologize because I emailed this to you only a couple minutes, but before the Zoom meeting. So I thought I would like raise it now. And I think you guys are doing a wonderful job, and it's going to be dealt with. People would drive, I mean, illegally enter onto the property and, you know, not stop at the stop sign, and it created a potential hazard, you know, like a potential cars, because with the bushes and the trees on our property, and every year or two I'd go and put some simple orange cones. I'm not going to put up anything more than that, because I just didn't want, I mean, look, I didn't want the liability. Someone lies, they said, hey, look, when you're a lawyer, that's the problem. You always think about the absolute worst things that can happen. It seems like that's going to be addressed, because like we weren't going to put up metal chains and then thereby cause an injury. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I just don't want to get a message from the city or get a lawsuit from someone. Hey, you know, this guy drove on your property and he killed my. I mean, it's a dangerous situation. It sounds like it's you know, it's being addressed, and that they're with the pay. I'm sorry, what Aaron was saying, the 6 feet. I do a lot of like government.
The shoulder, yeah.
So it sounds like it's an issue that's already sort of being addressed, because if it's going to be paved, then people will not be driving on it, obviously. Correct? Is that a fair assumption?
Well, and I know, Joseph, you just emailed James a few minutes before the meeting. So I don't know, Aaron or James, you guys want to comment? And then Joseph, we will absolutely follow up with you after the meeting. I know that this is a very specific question, so we can absolutely follow up.
Yeah, I mean, there's the question of, okay, so James has said, no, we're not touching like your property, we're just resurfacing, that's fine. And then like, okay, so I'm cool with that. I just from a legal standpoint, and also as a devout Christian, I don't want to get sued. I don't want the city to get sued. I know how personal, I have friends who are personal injury attorneys. I know how they work. Okay. And I don't want anyone to be harmed. And the fact, and so listen, I had to raise it. And so now it sounds like it's being dealt with, but I just don't want any sort of accident as a result of what was taking place for years. And I tried to stop it and all I could do was put those silly, stupid rubber orange cones because, I'm not going to create an impediment for people and then,
right. We don't want anybody to put fixed objects into the roadway or into the road right of way.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So, Aaron or James, you guys want to comment on that? And then Joseph, we will absolutely follow up with you after the meeting as well.
Thank you so much.
For sure. I did see your email, Joseph. Thank you for your concerns. I will definitely take a closer look into what's out there now before I can tell you if we're completely fixing the issue or not. And if we do have concerns for that, we can definitely look into resolving this issue. But let me take a closer look into that before I send you an email and give you a call back.
Okay.
Yeah,
thanks, James.
I think it's also important to point out, and Joseph, thank you for your question. James had mentioned in the meeting that the limits of the project, actually we refer to it as the point of beginning of a project, the POB. Our POB for this project is not at the Plymouth Road intersection. It's actually quite a distance east of the Plymouth Road intersection. I would say about 200 feet east of the intersection. And you can see a clear line between the newer asphalt that was placed more recently and the older segment of the road that we're going to be addressing through this project. So again, it's going to depend on where this property is located, what the specific issue is, and we do have to remain within those work limits as part of this project investment. I mentioned that this does involve federal funding, that the project is bid and contracted through the Michigan Department of Transportation, and they are sticklers for the project limits. When we define those limits, that's the only area in which we can perform this work because of the source of the funding. So but we can definitely, James will take a look at this closer, and he will definitely be following up with you.
Okay, thanks, guys. All right, so we've got a few questions in chat. I do want to point out, I think earlier in the presentation, we accidentally said Fowler Creek. It is the bridge over Fleming Creek. So we got those a little mixed up, but thank you for someone for pointing that out, Fleming Creek. All right, no, that's all right. So we've got a question here from Leona. So her question is, will the shoulder be wide enough for bikes and runners since those numbers are increasing and there's not really a spot for them to go now?
So typically a 6 foot wide shoulder is wide enough. It's not considered a biking or pedestrian path, but it is often used. And personally, I believe it is wide enough. But again, Ford Road is a heavily trafficked road where a lot of vehicles come through and back and forth. So again, it's just a matter of taking safety into your own hands on that, but it is wide enough in terms of.
And James, it won't, like you were saying, it won't be marked as a bike lane, but it is significantly more shoulder than is there now. There's nothing really there now. The road pavement ends right at the white line, right?
It's about a foot. There's about a foot on both sides of the white line. So we are making it a lot wider than it is now. But yeah, it's not marked out as a pedestrian or a biking lane.
Okay. And Aaron, did you want to add something?
Yeah, that's what I was going to point out, exactly what you did, Emily, that it's what we're building out there is certainly the shoulder width and that room available for pedestrians or bicycles. is improved over what's there right now. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, let's see. So here is a question from Jim, and he is asking what will happen to the deceleration lanes, et cetera, at Andorra, and how far up will the paving go up Andorra?
So we are going up to the right of way at Andorra. I believe I spoke to Heather, the VP of the HOA that was there earlier this week and last week. We are paving up to that approach because we determined that it does help our roadway itself for us to resurface the portions of approaches on all the private drives through those subdivisions and on Andorra. So I provided Heather a bunch of information. I think she said she was going to send that out to the residents that live off of Andorra.
Yeah, and normally we don't do anything with private roads, but like you were saying, James, it's in the part that's in the public road right of way that will help the public road, right?
Correct. So
Yeah.
Our reasoning behind this is, yes, we never typically maintain private road approaches, just because it's private and it's paid for by, whoever owns that portion of the road. But just taking a look at it, it's in such a shape that it will affect or negatively affect our new road. So we just decided that, it would be beneficial for the edge of our road to repave this portion of the private approach.
Okay. All right, let's see. So here's a question from Rick, and he is just wondering what hours will the work be done? What are our contractors' hours?
Typically, our contractor shows up on site maybe a little bit before 7 in the morning. They tend to try to start as promptly as possible at 7. Our summer seasons are short, so we do want to take advantage of the daylight and the good weather as much as we can. And typically, it does vary in range, but they could work till 6 to 7, even 8 at some days, just to meet our timeline. But we don't recommend them to do any nighttime work or anything like that.
Yeah, so if it's daylight, we're probably going to be working, and we don't generally work on Sundays, right, James? Or
right, no
Yeah.
Sunday work.
But there will probably be Saturday work. Our work is so weather dependent. Like today, we are not paving, but yesterday we were paving in some areas. And so, it is very weather dependent. So, okay, let's see. We've got a question here from Regina. What's going to happen to the paved driveway entrances that are off of Ford Road? So those driveway approaches, do you want to talk a little bit about that, James?
Yes, so we aren't gonna cut into your driveway too much. What we typically do is we do wing out our pavement a couple of feet to all the driveways so that they match, so you don't get that little bump between your driveway and ours. So when they're out there with the mill, they will mill off, a couple of feet from your driveway at the end of your driveway. And then as we will pave that portion of your driveway back along with our road so that it will be an even transition from our road to your driveway.
Okay, great. Here's another driveway question. I think we answered this one, but how will the driveway entrance on Andorra be addressed as it connects to Ford? That comes from Daryl. And Daryl, like James said, we did talk about with the HOA about that, and we are going to be resurfacing just a portion of that approach of Andorra onto Ford. I don't know, James, is there anything else that you want to cover?
Yes, so I did talk to Heather about just also making sure the landscaping. I did notice a lot of landscaping and stone along the edge of that approach. She told me that she would reach out and just let the HOA know that we need you to move your landscaping back a couple of feet from the edge of the road so that our workers can get in there and pave that. Also, please, since your subdivision has a separate access, just for your convenience and also for our workers' safety, please do try to come in from Cherry Hill. We understand that taking Ford might be the most convenient route for you, which is also fine, but we do recommend you coming in from Cherry Hill.
Yeah, and I know we've hit on that the closure does apply, that if you can avoid it, please avoid it if you live in that area too. We really are trying to be very clear about that with people because we have seen some pretty nasty incidents here in Washtenaw County, across the state. Last year, there were 5 workers killed on work zones in Michigan, 2 right here in Washtenaw County on I-94. And so, keeping people out of work zones is a safety thing for you as a driver, but also for our workers. And it allows us to get in and out quicker. We know that road closures are frustrating and having to reroute is annoying, but we're trying to get in and out quickly so that you can have a nice new surface to be driving on and we can all go home each day. So we really ask you to take those signs seriously. And if you can avoid that area, please do. Just like James said, if you can get to your home from the south instead of going all the way to Ford, we really would appreciate that and really ask for you to do that. All right, so here we have oh, sorry, James, did you want to say something?
Yeah, if I could add on to that real quick too. We do have staff on site. As Aaron mentioned, we have an inspector on site anytime that there is construction going on. So if you do end up driving on the road and you have questions or concerns, please contact someone with a yellow vest that has Washtenaw County roads on it. I myself will be out there quite often as well. So if you have problem getting in and out of your home, we can definitely help in terms of helping you access your property.
Okay, great. We do have a question here from Regina, actually 2, so we'll do it in 2 parts. But one is, what's the possibility of getting the speed limit lowered to 45 miles an hour?
Yes, so I talked to a resident as well earlier this week about that. That is something that we would have to direct to our traffic and safety department. They would have to perform the required analysis on what's existing out there now. And it really does come down to what they come up with their analysis. And these analyses are federally mandated, and it's a process.
Yeah, the data makes the decision, right, James?
Right. So
Right.
We understand that, people do speed on this road, but ultimately it does come down to the data that we have to use for this.
Aaron, did you want to add something there?
Yeah, and thank you both. Again, you mentioned that the data really dictates what the posted speed limit is. We talk about as that speed limit is evaluated, there's the 85th percentile speed. And what that means is as a speed study is performed, generally the speed limit is set based on what 85% of the drivers, the speed at which they feel safe and prudent driving at. You're going to have individuals that disregard that posted limit. We can post the road at a speed that does not necessarily mean individuals are going to comply with that posted speed limit. And really that becomes an enforcement issue. The only effective means that I've observed over 20 plus years in road work to adjust driver performance is to have tickets written. And so ultimately it becomes an enforcement issue because to set a speed limit unnecessarily low is going to create traffic issues. You're going to have that differential speed condition where some people then comply with the lower speed limit and others disregard that and drive faster. So again, there's a lot that goes into that, but that would be something, as James said, we would defer to our traffic and safety section. But again, to set a speed limit unnecessarily low is not necessarily going to address those drivers that are choosing to drive in an unsafe manner and to speed through here.
Yeah, and I don't know. I know the question was the possibility of getting it lowered. It's probably pretty slim, Regina. It's certainly, I'm not sure the last time we did a speed study out there, but all the points that Aaron just said, the point of a speed limit is to try to create a consistent flow of traffic. And that's actually the safest. And so when you have an arbitrarily low speed limit that the data doesn't support, like Aaron was saying, it creates those 2 different types of drivers. And that's a less safe situation than even if the speed limit was what it was. So interesting. So we could go down the speed limit rabbit hole, but we will not today.
Yes,
Regina, go ahead, James.
I'll also, I told a resident earlier this week that I would talk to the traffic and safety department and just make them aware. And when they do have results, we can definitely share that as well.
Sure, yeah, all of our speed study data is posted on our website. If you're interested, you could do a little deep dive and see our traffic counts and that kind of information that's posted on our website. So Regina's other question about the project was, she's lived down the road for a long time, and they had, in the 90s, they had deer crossing signs installed. There apparently are a lot of deer crossings here, but then those were removed at some point, and she's wondering if we can get them reinstalled. Regina, I'll answer this one a little bit, and then if James or Aaron wants to add anything. So the deer crossing signs, there are certain rules as to what, there has to be certain parameters met before we will post those. And those are based on deer related crashes in that area before we will post them. And so we can certainly put a request in to have that reviewed, but we will only post those signs if there is the crash history, crash reports with law enforcement that support that. They are good ways to kind of notify the drivers, but obviously they won't stop deer from crossing in that area. But we can definitely put a request in if it's something that we need to do or that we want to look at. It's just adding more signs is not going to necessarily fix it. Aaron or James, do you have any other things you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think what you said sounds good. I can also shoot an email to the Traffic and Safety Department too about the deer sign.
Yeah, we can put a request in, James, and have them take a look at that. It's not a sign that we put out very frequently, honestly, because it really has to have the data behind it, and that doesn't always, it's not always there. So, all right, so I think we've gotten through all the questions in chat. Are there anybody else out there that would like to ask a question? If you'd like to ask a question verbally, you can raise your hand by looking for either the reactions button or the participants button if you've joined us from your computer or from your smartphone, and just look for the raise hand button under there. Or if you've called into this meeting from your touchtone phone, you can just dial *9, and that will signify to me that you would like to ask a question. You can also ask a question in chat like we've had a few times today as well. It looks like we've gotten them. James, do you want to talk, or it looks like we've gotten through all the questions. James, do you want to talk a little bit about the timeline one more time? I know it's still tentative.
Yes. So our contractor, Cadillac Asphalt, is working on a project for us down in Pittsfield Township right now. Our scheduled start date, so when they finish that project, which will be late May, our scheduled start date should be that first week of June. Again, we'll always have, we mandate them to have the big message boards out 7 days before we start the project. So once you see that board out, it means that the project's probably going to start within that next week. Again, please subscribe to the website or shoot me an email or give me a call. I would love to provide you as many updates as we can in terms of the start date and how long this project will last, and everything in between. So feel free to call or email.
Yeah, and give me about 5 minutes. I'll add Ford Road to our list of subscription. I'm sorry I missed that before the meeting today, but that'll be posted to our website shortly, so you can subscribe to receive those like James was saying. So I think it looks like we've gotten through all the questions. And Aaron, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close out?
No, I just appreciate everybody taking the time today to attend the meeting. Many thanks to you, Emily, and to James for preparing the presentation. And we look forward to undertaking this work this summer and making this infrastructure investment here in Washtenaw County.
Great, James, anything else you wanted to add?
Yep, along the same lines, just thank you everybody for your time. And sorry for the inconvenience in advance.
Thanks everybody. We appreciate you joining us. And like we said, we'll have the website updated shortly, and then we'll have the video posted and these slides posted later today or Monday. So thanks again, and we will be in touch as we get closer to this project.